Introductions, I will turn the call over to Dave Lockett. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, and welcome everyone to today's UFC 217 Bisping versus St-Pierre conference call. Today we are joined by the two main event fighters competing for the UFC middleweight title next Saturday, November 4th at Madison Square Garden. Joining us today are UFC middleweight champion Michael Bisping and former UFC welterweight champion Georges St-Pierre, who will make his return to the octagon for the first time in 4 years. Welcome, gentlemen, and now let's turn things over to the call center to open up for questions.
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question, please signal by pressing star 1 on your telephone keypad. If you are using a speakerphone, please make sure your mute function is turned off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. Once again, that is star 1 to ask a question. We'll pause briefly to allow everyone the opportunity. Our first question comes from Jeffrey Harris with 411 Mania MMA. Your line is open.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this call. This is a historic fight card coming up, and I really appreciate your time. First question is for George. Does it bother you that throughout this media tour, Michael Bisping has made numerous accusations about PEDs and USADA, considering before you left the UFC, you were an outspoken proponent of bringing in a more enhanced drug testing program, and it was a source of conflict between you and the UFC at the time?
No, it doesn't. I don't even think he believes it himself. So it's no problem.
Is that true, Michael? Do you even truly believe these accusations you voiced recently during the media tour?
Well, it's all a game of he said, she said, so I'm hearing things from certain people who shall remain nameless, but I've heard a couple of things from back in the day. Now, we're not talking about recent things right now. I think it's going to be a level playing field. You saw that are testing people. I'm assuming they're testing George. They've certainly been testing me, so he's going to be clean. But I think back in the day, there was some sneaky supplements going on, but that's only from third-party sources. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He's a clean athlete. He's the former welterweight champion. I'm the middleweight champion. We're both clean. I'm going to whoop his ass. That's about it.
Now, Michael, I was listening to your amazing podcast, Believe You Me, and it seems you have the thought that the skeptic in you believes the UFC. Do you really think that's the case? And does that really bother you, considering you were the one campaigning for this fight, and this is the fight you've been wanting for quite some time?
Yeah, well, if you're a regular listener to the podcast, you'll know that, it's not the most serious media outlet out there. We discuss balls, and I was, kind of saying that a little tongue-in-cheek. But listen, at the end of the day, if I'm the UFC, I'm fine, because George is a welterweight. He could probably go down, meet Conor at a catchweight, and that would be a massive fight. I could never fight Conor. Conor's about the size of my leg, so I could never fight him. But business-wise, I guess George could make more money because he could retire on for welterweight, then he could fight Conor maybe at lightweight. Who knows? So that was that. But realistically, the UFC have always been impartial, you know what I mean? So I don't think they really care. They just want a good fight. They want pay-per-views. They want, they want to put on a good show. And don't you worry. I'm ready. I've had the best camp of my life. And I'm going to take it to Zilizza.
And last question for Michael. George has voiced that he thinks you're terrified of his grappling and wrestling game, and it's really been a great equalizer throughout his career. And on your show, you also said you respect his wrestling game and you're not terrified of it at all. So I'm just curious, how do you prepare for the wrestling of Georges St-Pierre?
I mean, for George to use the word terrifying about himself is the most laughable thing I've ever heard. George is a very technical guy, but there's nothing terrifying about him in the slightest. There's nothing remotely scary about him whatsoever. Now, do I respect his wrestling credentials? Of course I do. That's why I brought in way better wrestlers. These guys were throwing me around like a bloody, they were tossing me on my head left, right, and center. But guess what? They're not tossing me on my head anymore. So if George can get it done, God bless him. If George can beat me, raise his hand and say, well done. I've got no injuries. I've had the best time of my life. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm knocking out sparring partners every single sparring session. Now, of course, that sounds like tough talk, but it really is true. I'm knocking people out. I'm a knockout artist now with punches, kicks, you name it. People are dropping like flies, and Georges St-Pierre will be the next one to get dropped.
Once again, to ask a question, please press star 1 at this time. Our next question comes from Damon Martin with Flow Combat. Your line is open.
Hey guys, first question for the champ, Michael Bisping. Mike, you mentioned, you're not really thinking the UFC's playing favorites in this thing, but this is obviously a big moment for you. You wanted this fight, and this is a big moment for you, but it seems like a lot of the promotion has been centered around GSP. They created a website for him, GSPreturns.com, some of the posters, things like that. I mean, does any of that bother you, considering you are the incumbent champion? You are the guy, defending his belt on this card.
No, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. See, here's the thing, Damon. They need to do a website, GSPreturns.com, because he's been hiding in the shadows trying to grow a pair to fucking step back into the octagon and fight. I've been out here taking on the best of the best in the world, juiced up or not juiced up, the whole time. I've gone fucking nowhere. So they need to tell everyone. They need to tell all the Mounties up in Canada that George is back. They've got to tell all the bloody poutine eaters in Montreal that George is back. They've got to let the world know. Me, same day, same place. Catch me in the octagon.
For you, Mike, in the lead up to the fight, George has talked a lot about, being aggressive, going for the finish. And it seemed like a lot of that style that he had before, kind of changed after the loss to Matt Serra, where he did kind of go to more of a wrestling heavy style in his attacks with his fights. Do you believe him when he says he's actually going to come out there and, gun for the finish in this fight?
Now, I'll guarantee you, I see more aggression out of my wife when it's Christmas shopping than what we'll see out of George in Madison Square Garden. He's going to fight the same way he always fights. Listen, he's saying he's reinvented the wheel and he's going to do something different. But here's the fact, and George knows this. When you're under pressure, you fight the way you fight. You go back to your comfort zone. You go back to the things you like to do. And he's going to look to take me down. And that's granted. That's within the skill set. That's within the rules. It is mixed martial arts. It's not a boxing contest. It's not kickboxing. So God bless him. Try it. Good luck. And I'll be ready, But he fights the way he fights. And most of the people that he's beaten are all lightweights or featherweights. All right, there's a couple of solid welterweights on there like Carlos Condit and people like that. But he hasn't fought anyone with my size, anyone with my well-roundedness. Like Jake Shields, straight-up grappler. Some people just, Carlos Condit, straight-up striker. Nick Diaz, he's got no wrestling whatsoever, so he couldn't stop the takedowns. I can stop the takedowns. To say I'm terrified is laughable. It's hilarious. I didn't know George was such a comedian. So, yeah, we're going to see George wrestle. We all know it.
And in the lead up to the fight, Mike, I mean, you're no stranger to a little bit of trash talk. You like to get in under your opponent's skin, so to speak. You've had those moments with George. We saw that after the press conference. You kind of had a little bit of a backstage altercation. But you're good at reading people. Do you truly believe that you've just gotten under his skin? That may play a factor in this fight?
I've definitely got under his skin. Listen, here's the fact of the matter, right? I like George. George is a great guy. George is a fantastic ambassador for mixed martial arts. I've got nothing negative to say about him other than the fact we're going to fight, right? So he's going to try and knock me out or choke me out or whatever it may be in front of the world. So right now, he's my enemy, all right? Once this is done, I like George. I respect him, but all's fair in love and war. So, he's going to try and beat me up. So fuck it. I'm starting on him now. I'm starting the verbal onslaught. I'm starting the attack. As I say, when it's all done, it's over. But, I'm definitely getting at it 100%. I can tell. See, when George gets pissed off, he sticks his tongue into his lips, into his cheek, and you can see it. And that's what I said. I didn't touch him. I pointed. I said, there's the tongue. And when I did that, he flicked me in the face. So that's why afterwards I was like, keep your fucking hands to yourself, pal. But it's all good. The fight's almost upon us.
Awesome. And a question for George. So few fighters in this sport actually walk away on top and actually leave off a win or off with the championship and things like that. And you did that. You left as the, 9-time defending welterweight champion. Do you feel like you have something to prove, coming back? Was that any part of it, after 4 years away, that you had something to prove with a fight like this?
I don't really have something to prove. I do it because I want to live my life to the fullest. Why would I would not want to come back? Fighting Michael Bisping for the title in the Madison Square Garden, this mythical place, I would be fooled to not take this opportunity. A lot of people will want to be in my shoes and they are not, and I have an opportunity, something I'm gonna do that I'm gonna have a memory and that I'm gonna cherish for the rest of my life. So, just think about it. I think I'm very privileged to be in this position, and I do it to live my life. That's why I do it, and I'm gonna make history.
And George, when you were in the UFC before, when everyone always used to ask you about the Anderson Silva fight, you always made it a point to say if you ever went up to middleweight, it was going to have to be a real dramatic change for you, because adding on that extra muscle and extra weight would, probably prevent you from fighting at welterweight for quite some time. How has the weight gain been for you, and did it kind of go the way you expected? Like, do you believe now you are a true middleweight, and going back to welterweight would probably be a tough thing for you?
I could go back to welterweight, but the thing is, it took me a long time to prepare myself to get this fight at 185. It took me a few months to add muscle mass on me, because even for welterweight, I was a small welterweight. I'm not as the new guys now. They're very big, so I did it. It took me a few months. Took a lot of discipline, and I made it, and I'm very happy. So. The weight difference will be there, but it won't be that much that is going to make an issue.
Awesome. Thanks, George.
Thank you.
We will take our next question from Harry Kettle with Click On MMA. Your line is open.
Hi, guys. My first question is for George. George, when you dreamt about your actual return to the octagon, did you have a specific location and time in mind? And does the fact that it's in New York City, Madison Square Garden, add an extra sense of pressure?
Well, it's always the same. It's always the same rules, the same cage, wherever you are in the world. But for sure, New York, it's like a mythical place. The sport has been legalized in New York not a long time ago. So for me, I always want to fight in New York. And for me, it's like my house, because I go there every month for training. So I feel like I'm home a little bit. And so fighting at home, it's always special, and it's a great moment for me.
So in the build-up to fight week, as we get closer and closer, have you noticed anything different about your preparations compared to your first run with the UFC?
Oh yeah, I did a lot of different things. I took away a lot of the stuff that was sort of useless that I used to do before. And I've been training really hard, but I didn't do as much volume. I stayed fresh, injury-free, and I'm very happy, which gonna make me a lot more dangerous, and I'm not burned out in my head. I'm very happy. I live the present moment, and I'm happy to live that moment.
Yeah.
I don't do it because I don't do it because I have to. I do it because I want to.
Yeah. And my next question is for Michael Bisping. Michael, do you believe that a win over GSP will get you in the conversation for being one of the greatest of all time, or do you think people will continue to not give you the respect you deserve?
Yeah, I mean, it should. It definitely should, because, for all my talk, George is an incredible opponent. We'll see. We'll see. That's not what I'm concerned about for this fight. Obviously, I want to defend the belt. I want to remain the champion. I want to represent my country, and I want to perform for everyone that tunes in and watches. If I get more respect afterwards, that's all well and good. That's fine. What we should do, though, is ask George about his long-term mentor, Christophe Madou, did a podcast recently, and it was in French, so maybe you guys didn't pick it up, but he said that he had to leave the camp, George, because he was sparring so bad and he was slow and he didn't like the way George was performing. What do you say to that, George? What's your response, man?
We'll find out November 4. You'll see how I perform.
Oh, come on. Your own mentor He's talking shit about him, saying he's performing like crap in sparring and he's really slow. And we've all seen in the promos, George, you do look slow, man. You look slow, so maybe get jumping rope or skipping or something. Do some footwork drills.
One last question, Mike. You mentioned representing your country. When you look at the state of British MMA as you kind of move into the latter stages of your career, would you say one of your biggest accomplishments is being the torchbearer for the UK and the UFC for the last decade?
Yeah, I guess without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I don't really try and think about those things too much. You know, I don't try and think of what I've accomplished and whatnot. But if I sit back and think about it, yeah, I mean, I've always been proud to represent England. Of course, being the first world champion from Britain, you know, that's something I'm very proud of. The UK MMA scene is booming. We have tremendous fighting talent, you know, and, you know, we have a solid presence now. Of course, on the more localized UFC shows, we see great talent on display all the time. And it's just going to get better and better. I mean, England has a steep history in combat sports, of course, with the heavyweight boxing scene. The British heavyweight boxing scene is the best it's ever been right now. It's absolutely thriving. And, you know, similar with MMA, I'm just proud to be a part of it and, you know, representing the country.
Thanks, guys. Best of luck next week.
Thank you.
Once again, if you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 at this time. We will take our next question from Chris Clark with MMA.Records.com. Your line is open.
Hi, good evening, gentlemen. The first question here is going to be for Michael Bisping. I'm just wondering, did you listen to the conference call yesterday? I believe Cody Garbrandt said that him versus TJ Dillashaw is the real main event. I'm just curious to get your response on that.
Yeah, listen, I've never paid to watch somebody that's the size of my leg in my life. And, you know, Cody needs to spend less time plucking his eyebrows and more time living in the real world, because it ain't the main event. Simple as that. So he can fucking dress it up however he wants, Cody. I love Cody. Cody's awesome. He's an amazing fighter, but don't talk shit about me, pal.
And also, in regards to this being such a big event, I mean, obviously, last year with Conor McGregor and the 2 belts and things of that nature, are you feeling any additional pressure to sell this event?
Well, I mean, I always feel that pressure. Anytime my name is attached to an event such as a fight, you want it to be successful. You know, you want the arenas, the pay-per-view sales, the TV views, everything to be successful. Otherwise, you know, I guess you're failing in your career. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I mean, the UFC are the promoters. They've done a great job in promoting this fight. I've been really busy. I've done a ton of press. But I've done a good job of managing everything. I mean, even now, I'm on a press tour in LA. Last night, I was at a Dodgers game. Last week, I was in Toronto, in Montreal. Week before Vegas. Prior to that, we were in New York. Obviously, next week is fight week. So there's been a lot of promotion, and we're doing everything we can. You know, I mean, if we'll see what happens. You know, it's New York City. I'm sure it's going to be a sellout come fight night. I'm sure pay-per-views are going to be good. My main job, though, is to win this fight. That's what matters. You know, when it's all said and done, winning the fight, going down in the history books as the winner is all I care about. You know, I say a lot of things. I goof around. I talk a lot of shit. I be a bit silly here and there. But one thing I'm very, very deadly serious about when it comes to is my fighting. I am serious about this. I'm not fucking around there. I don't fuck around in the gym. When I'm in the gym, I'm all business, you know. So, yeah, you know, hopefully it does well. Hopefully we set records. As long as I win, nothing else matters.
And then last question for you, Michael. So is the plan still to fight one more time in England before you retire? I believe you stated that a few months ago. Is that still the plan?
Yeah, I mean, I said a comment once, and it's kind of taken on a life of its own. I mean, you can't do this forever, and as George knows, you know, I mean, George should have stayed retired. He would have been forever being a legend, but he didn't. He fucked it up. He's come out of retirement, and he's fallen into the trap that everyone falls into. He thinks he can beat me. He looks at me on TV and goes, oh, yeah, he's an easy fight. I'll come out of retirement. I'll beat this thing. I'll be the middleweight champion and be a legend. You know, and he's fallen into that trap that people fall for. But I did say in the build-up that this could be my last fight. Now, my wife and some people close to me, you know, I've done this forever. I've been a fighter ever since I was a kid. I've been involved with martial arts and professional combat sports my entire life, and I'm almost 40 now. So you can't do it forever, you know, and I am the champ, so I've accomplished what I want to accomplish. That said, though, I've enjoyed this training camp. I've enjoyed the process. I've enjoyed being a little bit out of shape, but now going to the peak of physical fitness. You know, it's a great process. It feels good, knocking people out in sparring. I live for this shit. So, yeah, there'll definitely be at least one more fight. And who knows, maybe more after that. I don't know, though. I don't know. You got to know when to walk away. Right, George? You got to know when to walk away. And you should have stayed away. You should have stayed away.
All right, great. Thanks, Michael. The next question is going to be for George. George, I'm just wondering, how is this going to rate in your list of accomplishments if you're able to win this fight and win the middleweight title? Obviously, you've been gone for 4 years, kind of similar to Dominic Cruz when he came back and won the title after all those years. How is this going to rate in your list of accomplishments since you've been in the UFC?
It will be the best accomplishment of my life for sure. I mean, nothing will come first over this. You know, that's the best ever. You know, after 4 years coming back like this, and I think will be the number one on my list, 100% without a doubt.
Cool. And then last question. Obviously, George, you've moved up here to 185. You're getting bigger. Is it still a plan to move down to 155? I mean, your coach suggested that you could move to 155 and you could definitely make that weight. Could you still make that weight and possibly fight Conor McGregor, for example?
Look, it took me a few months to go up. I think I'm gonna stay a little bit at this weight for a little bit. You know, I don't like it. I prioritize my health over the performance, and for me it's important. You know, I stay healthy. I have also after my career. You know, it's not good to lose weight and put weight, and it's very bad. A lot of fighters do it, but I've never been a fan of it. And I don't know. I take one fight at a time. This Michael Bisping is a problem now, and I'm gonna solve it.
All right, cool. Thank you, guys.
We will take our next question from Spencer Kite with UFC.com. Your line is open.
George, before your last few fights and during your time away, you talked a lot about your thoughts racing and your obsession with the sport and not necessarily enjoying the process. I'm wondering if that has changed heading into this fight. Are you back enjoying the training and back enjoying preparing for a fight like this?
Yeah, it's a lot more fun. The difference is, you know, of course it's stressful. It's hard on the nerve. But when I close my eyes and I give myself the choice, would I want to be there or not? Yes, I want to. So I don't do it because I have to. I do it because I really want to. I've never been forced to do anything I don't want to in life. But I felt like I had like pressure from outside, and I was stuck into a pattern. Now I'm doing it, and I'm happier than ever.
And I know one of the other things you've talked about in coming back is that you weren't happy with how things ended. You weren't happy with how you walked away, and you wanted a different ending. You've also talked about retiring again if this fight doesn't go your way. If that's how this plays out, will you be okay with that? Will this be an acceptable ending because you've come back on your terms regardless of the outcome?
Well, it always depends how. You know, it always depends how. I can't say right now for nothing for sure. It depends how. You know, like how it happens. Sometimes you win a fight and you could lose. Sometimes you lose, but you should have won. You know, or it depends how it happens. You know, and how I will feel, and it depends on a lot of stuff. You know, but I don't see myself going away until for a long time. So it's gonna be a good match.
Okay, thank you both.
Once again, if you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 at this time. We will take our next question from Eric Anderson with footandfist.com. Your line is open.
All right. My first question is for Bisping. Freddie Roach has suggested that GSP has been starting slow in the first round. Do you agree with that as a general? And are you looking to put it on GSP early?
I mean, honestly, I haven't watched that much tape of George, and whether he starts fast, starts slow, it doesn't matter. I'm going to fight the way I fight. And, you know, I finish a lot of my fights, and I'm going to look to finish this one. And, you know, you don't get any prize, you know, any extra money for overtime. So as quick as I can get him out of there, the better, you know. So, yeah, as soon as that referee says fight, Big John, Mark Goddard, Herb Dean, whoever it is, when he says fight, I'm going at the son of a bitch, believe you me.
Now, there was a report of an altercation at a 24-hour fitness and a suit being put against you. Is this accurate?
There we go.
If so, is it going to distract you from focusing on the fight?
No, it is completely inaccurate or inaccurate. It is not factual. You know, so, I mean, of course, he's filed papers. I haven't actually received any notification. I haven't been served or anything, but I've heard about this. But, yeah, no distraction here, mate. Honestly, it's I'm not losing any sleep over it whatsoever.
All right, this question is for GSP. Bisping suggested that your game plan is predicated on working your takedowns. If you are unable to take Bisping down early, do you feel you can win a kickboxing match with him?
I'm going to win a kickboxing match with him, and I'm going to put him down when I want to put him down, whenever I want to put him down. And it's going to happen.
There we go.
Say it. There we go.
There's the talk. There it is, George.
Yes.
George, I hear you super slow, man. Hey, remember, I live in Orange County. You came down to Orange County and did some karate training recently and got your ass served, and everyone talks about how slow you were, right? That sounds familiar? Yeah, you were slow, buddy. I got my little spies, George.
Yeah.
I got my little spies. You ain't shit, pal. When you can't take me down, you're fucked.
So,
yeah.
My last question, George, you definitely have gained some mass. Do you feel that is going to hurt your cardio, and do you feel that it's going to make you slower?
I'm actually, I feel more powerful than ever at this match. I feel I have more muscle and I'm leaner. And I eat way more healthy than before, and it makes a big difference, you know. I never eat like this before. I never had a program. I was always eating whatever I want. And it changed my body a little bit, and it made me feel better inside. It makes you feel better. You recuperate better, and you sleep better, and it's all good. It's all positive. I can't wait to show him.
Yeah.
I can't wait to.
Yeah, but all it takes extra oxygen, George. You know, you're gonna be blowing out your ass at the end of the third round, thinking, "Fuck, I wish I was 20 pounds lighter." All those extra calories you took off that fat little head you got, that little roll fat.
You see the problem with Michael Bisping?
You know,
the problem with Michael Bisping is, in every interview he does, he's begging me to stand and bang with him. But because that's the only way he can win. Like, and even there, it's not guaranteed that he's not gonna win. So he's begging me because he's terrified that I put him down and I punch him in the face. What I want to do, I break him down.
Oh wow.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, something scary about it.
There are no additional questions. I'll turn the call back to Dave Lockett for closing remarks.
Jordan, take it down. He's going to...
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for participating in today's call. Both fighters, Michael Bisping and Georges St-Pierre, thank you both for participating today. We are looking forward to an exciting week next week in New York and hope to see everybody there. Thanks again.